And there have been threats, previously that if you stand in the way of your enforcement operations, you could be subject potentially to arrest. Are you saying that about Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom? Are they at risk of being arrested?
I'll say it about anybody. You cross that line.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy.
Cruelty is the point and fear is the goal. Hello, my name is Liz Ashley and welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about what's going on in Los Angeles. So, over the weekend, there were some mass protests in LA, and I'm sure after I post this video, there are going to be many more updates and many more things that have happened. I have another update at the end of this video, but apparently the Marines have now been mobilized. So it's not just the National Guard, it's also the Marines. So just keep that in mind as you're watching this video, that that's where our money and resources are going. Yeah, Marines and National Guard. Okay. But that's why I wanted the point of this video to be that cruelty is the point and fear is the goal. I think that's really important. I initially was going to make a video about how just like cruelty is the point, talking about Jodi Ernst.
Be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sakes.
But then in LA, when there became protests, and we'll get into what happened, that's when I also believe that fear is the goal as well. Not that it hasn't been, but I just I saw someone say something about that on Threads. So I'm just like, I think that's also a great point. Let's get into it. So, talking about how cruelty is the point, in LA, there were ICE raids. There were ICE raids in the Garment District, and they would go into these places of work. They would go into these businesses, and they were raiding them. They were doing ICE raids.
Stop traffic. We started noticing, and I told my girl, that's immigration right there. What they started doing was they went in front of a business, a negocio, and they started raiding it. They started bringing people out in vans. Once they started doing that, that's when everybody knew, what was going on. And everybody was there in the traffic jam. Everybody, right? You're stuck in your car, in your vehicle. Behind us, there was a woman and her young daughter. She was around 13. I kept in touch with them, and as we speak, she's in the hospital because the tear gas bomb hit her right in the face. They come out crying out of their vehicle, and they can't breathe. They're literally on the ground. Right? Peacefully, we do not throw anything at them. We're not yelling at them. We're just recording what's going on because people deserve to know the truth.
There are reports that and video of enforcement operations happening in ways that they haven't traditionally. ICE officers going to Home Depots around Los Angeles and picking off day laborers. Do you think he was aware of what was happening in Los Angeles?
I think I'm more than aware. And obviously, he was setting this up to take these additional steps. He made this up. This is a manufactured crisis.
Of course, the ICE was masked, and that's kind of how they've been doing everywhere. They have been trying to disguise themselves and not really show who they are. They know that what they're doing would not hold up in court. But what sparked the protests in LA, which is something that has actually been happening everywhere, since they started having this quota that they needed to follow that Stephen Miller decided. So immigrants would go to routine check-in appointments at courthouses, and they've been doing this a lot of places. This isn't just in LA. They've been doing it a lot recently. They would go to their routine check-ins, and then would be detained. In LA, they were held in this basement overnight, and there was a video of this one lady who they waited until her lawyer went to the bathroom to get her, and then she fainted, and they picked her up and took her anyway. And there were people filming, and they were like, you need to get someone who's a medical professional. You have to wait for her lawyer. You can't just take her. But they did. And so this This is what sparked the protests. Trump issued the National Guard in California. And usually what happens is that a governor will request the National Guard. Like our governor requested the National Guard to come help with the tornadoes, which a lot of people were skeptical about, which I'm also still skeptical about, but I think they're here now, so I'm not really sure. But usually the governor will request the National Guard. Usually the president doesn't just like send the National Guard. Like, usually that's not how this works. Of course, this is just breaking all sorts of laws, breaking all sorts of state sovereignty.
This is your authority normally to deploy the National Guard here. Right. You did it. We were together after the fires, and those National Guard troops have been out all across Los Angeles working to rebuild and recover this city.
Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Sorry to interrupt you, but Governor, so that's news. If you're going to sue the administration, tell me a little bit about it. Give us a preview of this lawsuit.
Well, under his executive order, it specifically notes, and under what the DOD did, is they had to coordinate with the governor of the state. They never coordinate with the governor. He needs to stand down. Donald Trump is inflaming these conditions.
So let me tell you what Gavin Newsom said about the National Guard coming to California. He said the federal government is moving to take over the California National Guard and deploy 2,000 soldiers. That move is purposely inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. Which is true. LA authorities are able to access law enforcement assistance at moment's notice. We are in close coordination with the city and county, and there is currently no unmet need. The Guard has been admirably serving LA throughout recovery. That's what the National Guard is doing in St. Louis right now, although St. Louis hasn't been getting that much help at all. It's really been community organizations doing all the work, just saying. In California, that's what they're doing. Like, they're still recovering from the wildfires, just like St. Louis is still recovering from the tornadoes. There are many cities in this country that are still recovering from natural disasters that are not getting a whole hell of a lot of help from the federal government. And so I just think that's something to note, that they are spending all of these resources on policing people and threatening people than they are actually helping people in need that need those resources. I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom, but I'm glad that he's pushing back a bit. I'm not sure where he's at now. Who knows where he's at now? But this is what he said when Donald Trump was talking about bringing in the National Guard, which they have. I believe they have at this point. The National Guard is there at this point. This is the other thing Gavin Newsom said. He said the federal government is taking over the California National Guard and deploying 2,000 soldiers in Los Angeles, which is crazy. Not because there's a shortage of law enforcement, because they want a spectacle. Don't give them one. Never use violence, speak out peacefully. And then one of my favorite actors, he's in Superstore, he said, this is your job, you better do something. I don't know how much they're willing to fight back. Democrats, especially Gavin Newsom, haven't been super keen on fighting back, haven't really cared. They've crossed, this administration, this regime has crossed all the red lines of Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, everyone, and they're still barely doing anything. So this is what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said, great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles. After 2 days of violence, clashes, and unrest, we have an incompetent governor, Newsom, and Mayor Bass, who were, as usual, just look at how they handled the fires, and now they're very slow permitting disaster. Federal permitting is complete. That was in parentheses. This is crazy. Okay. Unable to handle the task. These radical left protests by instigators and often paid troublemakers, which is crazy. I love how they want to talk about how like AOC and Bernie, like that's all paid and all the protesters are paid. Nope. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? By instigators and often paid troublemakers will not be tolerated. Also, from now on, masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. What do these people have to hide and why? Yeah, great question. Maybe we should be asking ICE that. Again, thank you to the National Guard for a job well done. And I think when he posted that, actually, National Guard had not been on the ground yet. Other people that are commenting on this, like Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller called it an insurrection, and he's doing that on purpose. Like Stephen Miller, I think is the brains behind a lot of these operations. He's calling it an insurrection, and I think a lot of people are saying that he's calling it an insurrection because they want to invoke the Insurrection Act and they want to invoke martial law. And that's why they are using this language, even though that's not what this is.
Even if you're not planning to invoke that Insurrection Act, you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden and his auto pen.
What is the bar for sending Marines to
The bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order.
But if they do martial law in California, civilian rights will be suspended, military replaces law enforcement, curfews, checkpoints, detainments, and warrants. Protests can be forcefully ended, and media can be censored, and then you no longer have the right to assemble or speak freely. And so I think they're doing they're doing a lot of the aggressive ICE raids in places like New York, California, and Chicago because they know that they'll get pushback. And I do think that this is their ultimate goal. I do think that. I think that this has been their ultimate goal for a while. Kristi Noem has to enter the conversation. Of course she does. So she said, a message to the LA rioters. You will not stop us or slow us down. ICE will continue to enforce the law. And if you lay a hand on our law enforcement officers, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And Pam Bondi said a similar thing. Something that's going viral on social media right now is this guy who got tear gas, and he said, I tasted a little tear gas. It tasted like fascism.
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
I thought that was great. I'm really happy that that's like kind of going viral on social media because yeah, I think we all need to become aware of where we are. And I think a lot of people who, like I said, I was watching that live stream of it earlier. And, there are people in there like, oh, arrest them all. Or ICE doesn't just come get you for nothing. And I'm like, they have been, though. And they've just been revoking people's statuses. And so these people think that they're doing the right thing. They are doing the right thing. They're signing up to do the right thing. They're signing up for these programs, and then they're going to their appointments and they're getting detained. So they are trying to do it the right way. They are trying to do it, legally, and they are revoking these people's statuses on purpose so they can remove them. It is inhumane. It is horrible, and it is fascism. And I think people need to wake up to that realization. I really do. I think people are I think a lot of people are waking up, but I still think people are stuck in this fallacy of normalcy, thinking that, oh, it'll be normal again one day. One day it'll be fine and it'll just be normal again. Our normal before this wasn't even that great, but that's just, it's not going to happen if Trump gets to keep eroding our rights. Like, you can't erode rights and then, when he's gone, it's just back to normal. That's not how this works. This is what fascism does. It eats itself. It is not like once they're done with one group, they go after the next group, because eventually when they keep going after immigrants and your life doesn't get better, they're going to have to blame another group. And then when that group is done and your life still doesn't get better, they're going to have to blame another group. And it just keeps going, and it ends up eating itself in the process. It is Monday, the day I'm posting this. I just wanted to do a little update. Of course, a million things happen before I post these videos. Everything happens just so fast. But Hasan went to the protest, and I watched that, and it was really interesting to watch because they were very peaceful, but the cops and the ICE agents, National Guard, throwing flashbangs into the crowd.
Get the people united! We'll never be divided! Get the people united! We'll never be divided! Get the people united! We'll never be divided!
The cops on the other side, those units will probably move in. I can't see from over here, but it's still kind of hot. Aerial burst, 40mm flashbang. That's what they've been. That's what they've been shooting at. They've been deploying. From this side of the road. Oh, fuck! That's my hair.
They were also shooting rubber bullets at one point, and they even hit a reporter, which is wild. And apparently that's not the only reporter they hit.
This situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA. Whoa! You just shut the fuck up!
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Just crazy. Gavin Newsom is going to sue Donald Trump for sending in the National Guard without like the governor's approval or working with the governor, because that's not how you're supposed to do this. Right now, he's kind of fighting back, and he's like, hey, arrest me.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how far Gavin Newsom is willing to stand up. We'll see what happens. I hope he does. I hope he proves me wrong. But I don't really trust Gavin Newsom all that much. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the mayor, Karen Bass, can fight back. I really haven't heard a whole hell of a lot from her either. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Tom Holland is threatening to arrest both of them, which, you know, this is where we are. This is authoritarian. That's what this is. And I don't know what the Democrats are going to do about it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's my small update. I think that the narrative around this is very cruel, and cruelty is the point. They're trying to dehumanize immigrants, and to a large extent, I think they've done a very good job of that. When Trump was running at the RNC, they held up signs saying mass deportation now. So this is what that looks like. I think that they've been on a dehumanizing campaign of immigrants. And this is what that looks like. And so I do think cruelty is the point, and then fear is the goal of this. They want people to be scared. They want people to fall in line. That is the goal of this. That's just what I wanted to talk about today. That fear is the goal and cruelty is the point. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Join a local community group, help your community, get to know your community. I need to do better at that. These are dark times, but don't let them scare you into silence. Well, all right, that's the video today, as dark and gloomy as it is. And yeah, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Tell me what you think below, and I wish I had something funny to say or to tell you, but I don't. In my next video, I think I'm going to talk about Simone Biles versus Riley Gaines, which is kind of fun. That'll be more of a fun video, but yeah, all right. All right, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, all right, bye.